Okay, Mr. Melafa, the situation in the country is such that it's not just in one area, Benue. Our last guest mentioned some other areas. He mentioned Suka. We've also heard about Newman and Mambila, where these killings have taken place. Now, you said in your lecture series that there has to be a deliberate effort of governments to pursue peace across the country. How can that be?
Well, even my name, Mailafia, in Hausa means a man of peace. I have no choice than to believe in peace. It is my deepest conviction. Look, you mentioned Mambila. There was a massive killing there. And this time it was on the other side. It was the natives that engaged in slaughtering Fulanis and their families. In fact, including the family of a friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine. He's Fulani, he's a former senator. They came, killed his wife's parents and siblings. It was terrible. So the killings have taken place on both sides. But if truth be told, most of the killings has been done by Fulanis. To me, anybody who carries an AK-47 with rocket launchers is no longer a Fulani. He's a military militia, and the local communities have a right to see him as an enemy combatant. We must disarm these people. We don't know who is giving them these very sophisticated weapons. We need to disarm everybody in the rural communities, not just the Fulanis, but also the local farmers. I grew up in a village myself, and I can tell you I grew up with Fulani culture. I was born in Sanga in local Kaduna State, local government, but I grew up in Lafia, a small village called Muria. And I didn't like school in primary school, so I used to hang out with my Fulani neighbors. We would go and stay in their ruga. I would follow them with the cows. Let me tell you, this was some of the happiest lives of my life. So I had a Fulani childhood. The relationship was symbiotic. It was very peaceful. What we are seeing today is something else. So we must go back to the roots of this problem. We need to understand it, the anatomy and the structure and networks of this structural violence. We need to bring communities together. We need to build on our social capital. One thing that has happened, Ken, is that there has been a virtual disappearance of local administration. The local governments no longer actually function in actual practice. So at the local level, there is no authority. There's no presence of authority. So it is a free-for-all. It is what the jurists will call a terra nullius. And in a terra nullius, it is kill or be killed. And that situation is unsustainable. And like I said yesterday at the book launch for the great, very distinguished Professor Joy Ogu, our former UN envoy, that, you know, it will undermine our economy, to undermine our food security. So it is imperative that we find solutions.
Okay, one of the solutions, if I may come in here, Mr. Melafa, if I may come in here, one of the solutions that the government has thought of coming up with is the cattle colonies. Don't you think that would help to ease the tension and help everyone come back to living together?
Well, even the semantic colony is unfortunate. In fact, the Middle Belt states, when immediately they had colony, they were really very angry. Who are you coming to colonize? After killing so many people, you are not talking of colony. And they say, aha, we told you from the very beginning, it was all a colonial occupation force. And I think even that choice of language is very unfortunate. And those who use that kind of language are simply not serious people. They're not serious people. They don't know what government is. They don't know what public administration is. You don't talk such nonsense. It doesn't make sense. I was trying to talk about Olusegun Obasanjo. This is what Obasanjo would have done. He faced a lot of those challenges. And I'm not one of his greatest fans, by the way. But look, he exercised leadership. When you work closely with him, you knew this guy exercised leadership. There was a time I watched him. There was a big problem, national problem. He called governors, legislators, stakeholders, bankers. He assembled them in the hall in the presidency. He stood for about 7 hours. He refused to sit down. He refused to even drink water. He said, give me a solution or none of us is leaving this hall today. He stood and faced us for 7 hours until people came up with solutions. This is what I call leadership. We need to exercise leadership to tackle this problem. There's no problem that God will allow us that he will not give us also the capacity to solve. When you kill Fulanis, I am a Fulani. When you kill ordinary defenseless people in the Middle Belt, I am a defenseless peasant, and I will stand with them. Like Mandela, I will stand with anybody who is being oppressed and who suffers injustice. So please, let us exercise leadership. The people in charge are not serious. They have hidden agendas, and I doubt whether they love this country truly or even understand who God is. If we do, and if we have a conscience, we will stop this rot now.
Mr. Mailafa, when you say they should exercise leadership, what would you tell the presidency or suggest to the presidency to do as an immediate solution?
Well, when I say leadership, all of us are leaders. Ken, you are a leader in your field. I'm a leader in my field. Even in your home, you are a leader. There's leadership. I'm talking of leadership across the broad spectrum, from local to state, legislative to federal, to everybody. We have failed as leaders. What I would suggest is that maybe do the kind of thing that Obasanjo did once. Gather all the stakeholders. Bring them to Abuja. Let us sit and you lock the keys and say, if we don't come up with a solution, none of us is leaving this place. Okay? Bring some of the Fulani leaders, bring some of the farmers' leaders, and bring all the stakeholders. Let us talk together as brothers and sisters. Let us talk truth to each other with compassion and fairness and conscience and good conscience. Let us talk about the issues. The Fulanis are our brothers and sisters. They also need their space to do their work. Lagos consumes about 7,000 cattle per day. It is not the Fulanis that consume this cattle. In fact, I grew up in a Fulani community. They hardly eat cattle. They don't eat cows, really. Very rare for them to eat cows. What they eat is lamb. When there is a wedding or naming ceremony, they eat lamb. They eat sheep. So they are providing a real economic product, and we should support them. We should work with them. And when I was in my early years, the farmers would, after harvest, would actually go and beg the Fulanis, come to my cattle, come and stay there and eat the remnants. And during that period, the cattle also provide manure on the farm. It was a symbiotic relationship. It was constructive. It was peaceful. We need to go back to that way of thinking.